So, Alex, I
Yes,
really
Tyler.
wanna yeah, um, we we've been doing this for a while. We're on episode 22.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good.
We are doing pretty good, but episode 22 wouldn't have been possible without the many, many fans we have, all dozen of you, which
We appreciate
we
every
appreciate
single one
every
of you.
single one. Exactly. There's I looked at our numbers for the first time in, like, a month yesterday, and I was not yesterday, but Thursday, and I was taken aback.
Yes, I know. I was there. You showed me. I was quite surprised as well.
And there's a lot of factors that play into it, but we want to thank each and every one of you guys, the listeners. And I feel like we don't get to say it enough. We kind of
Absolutely.
just plug at the end of the episode and say, "Oh, good enough." But I really want to give each and every one of you a little thank you for giving us the support. Liking our posts, listen to the episodes. That's the biggest thank you guys can give us is listen to episodes and just listen to us ramble for an hour. It might
Yeah.
not be the most informational, but
The most
we
interesting, but it's interesting to us.
And we like putting out this product for you guys.
It is definitely one of our friends that was listening. I told him today. I was like, yeah, it's definitely a passion project. It's just fun, and we
It's a
really
blast.
enjoy it.
And we're getting to the meat and the potatoes of
Yeah, we're
the
getting
podcast.
to the
We
fun
kind of
stuff.
we flew through those first couple 20 episodes because it was boring. Put it how it is. It was boring.
Wasn't the most interesting. Not as interesting as what we're getting into.
Fish are
But
better.
Fish are cooler,
And everything
it
after
only
this
gets cooler from here.
exactly.
Until we finish the animals, and then it's like, well,
Back to square one. But that's what we wanted to. That's really what I want to start today's episode with. As always, we have our typical bits. Our nature in the news, our lesson, our amazing species, our most wanted, and our from the vault. But we really want to give a thank you for everybody that listens so far, and to all the people that are going to listen to us in the future. It means a lot to us. And with that, let's get into our nature in the news. Alex, would you like to give a brief on this?
yes. So our Nature in the News today came out yesterday as published from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It is a study of mountaineering mice sheds light on evolutionary light on evolutionary adaptation. So our quick summary here is the Highland deer mice and their lowland cousins ventured on a simulated 7-week ascent to 6,000 meters and tracking how they responded to cold stress and the lower oxygen levels. They tested whether the deer mice have a generalized ability to acclimatize, get used to the conditions, or whether some mice have evolved the adaptations. And the Highland mice were better able to regulate body temperature, an indication that they have evolved distinct ways to acclimate to that lower oxygen.
Yeah, so to put
that's
this
pretty
more
cool.
into some layman terms here, they took the deer mice that live at the higher elevations and the deer mice that live at the lower elevations. They're technically two different subspecies, and they put them both through a test of, like, I believe it's weekly. They moved it 1,000. They made a simulated 1,000 feet elevation increase each week. So it was like a 7-week program. They started at sea level and increased it up to 7,000 feet in elevation. And they were really just seeing, do the Highland mice have a better have better traits for acclimating and adjusting. And what they really found was they do. The Highland mice have a lower risk of what's it called? Something with their heart, where the aorta doesn't harden as quickly, or something along the lines of that.
I'm not sure what that is. I thought you were about
The thickening of the right ventricle is what I was looking for.
Okay, that's the one that should pump blood to the, I
Yeah.
believe.
So when that thickens, it doesn't pump as well because it's harder and it's firmer. So they're not getting as much blood to the lungs, and which causes them to have more difficulties breathing.
So does it thicken because it gets fatty? Because
no,
I mean that would make sense, because if it's thicker, it doesn't necessarily mean it's strong. It's an excellent question.
I think it thickens because of the low oxygen.
Okay.
So like the hemoglobin isn't getting enough oxygen, so it kind of congeals more.
Okay, that makes sense. It kind of clumps up inside there a little bit. Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a simple demonstration of how evolution kind of works in the long run, how two closely related species can have such different adaptations that have become evolutions that make them more suitable for varying climates, as well as why it said why the Highland deer mice are so widespread across North America. And over time, this is how you get distinct species, because they're like the lowland species that stayed in those lower elevations thrived in that area. I'm sure there's some adaptations of the Highland mice that make they maybe not do quite as well at lower elevations. Probably having to do with that. I don't know if it's with that body temperature regulation, that or it may be more of a, they just took advantage of an empty like niche in the environment in those highland areas and have just grown into it while maintaining their original niche as well.
Right.
That sounds like it'd be a little more accurate, just based on where since they still live like down in the plains of the American Midwest. Then
Yeah,
of
these
course,
are one of the more widely populous mice species in Americas. They kind of range from California to really coast to coast. There's deer mice around here too.
Yeah.
But that's the highlight
That's very
of
cool.
today's Nature in the News. As we said, came out on November 8th, 2024. Yesterday for us, published by University of Nebraska Lincoln. And the interesting thing is they actually got more funding to do another test for it.
Okay, so they're doing more testing with
Yeah, they're
them.
going to continue this testing.
Nice.
And that's going to move us over to today's lesson. And I kind of want to apologize to everybody. I was talking to Alex before we started the show, and I realized that we done goofed.
Yeah, we forgot the important part of what makes a shark a shark.
We covered sharks last week. Don't forget, we covered sharks last week.
Yeah.
We just didn't tell you guys how it's a shark.
Like a generalized, what makes a shark different from the other fish.
Yeah. So we're going to get into that right now and kind of elaborate on that. Before we talk about today's sharks, there's 4 more groups of sharks that we talk about today, and then we'll get into our normal stuff. But first, let's talk about what makes a shark a shark. Sharks are notorious for having cartilaginous skeletons, kind of that early vertebrate.
Yeah, so
they don't technically have the actual bones.
Yeah, so it is softer. The only thing that is, I think, fully bone in their body is their teeth. That is the only thing.
Skull?
Okay, the skull as well. That makes sense.
I believe.
It's harder. But so, like, the rest of the bones, quote unquote, in their body is cartilage, which, for the listeners out there, like the end of your nose, that kind of, it's firm but kind of movable, it's squishy. That is cartilage. Same with like your ears, like your outer ears, of course. And then if it's thicker or thinner, there are different, like the cartilage between your joints is a bit thicker to provide cushion. It's not as hard as bone. It's not like calcified. If they get injured, like say if they break a bone, quote unquote bone, it's a lot easier to do so. But that's something that's pretty unique to the shark than the cartilaginous fishes, which is this whole group that we've been talking about.
Right. So your sharks fit into the group Salaci or Salashi, and the sister group to that would be your Batoideae, which are your Sharktidae, which we're going to talk about next week. Spoiler alert. And they're pretty wide range of shapes and sizes. We'll talk about some of the ones we're going to talk about today are wild in terms of their looks because they're more primitive. They're more basal species. Basal means they're more of the baseline and don't have as many derived or evolutionary traits as some of the other ones do. So we're talking a couple centimeters, like about half a foot, 6 inches, all the way up to that whale shark we talked about last week, up to 40 feet. Sharks are found all across the globe in all oceans, from the Arctic Ocean to the Southern Ocean and all the tropical temperate zones between.
Yes, they are, and a majority of them, pretty much all of them, are predators. And some, actually, I think all of them are predators in some form. Of course, from
Whether it's plankton, like they eat plankton, or
yeah, like our largest sharks, or most of the largest sharks, and some of the small sharks too, like nurse sharks. They tend to be more
Docile.
They're very docile, but they tend to eat more like crustaceans and smaller fish. They don't really have teeth. Same with like our biggest sharks, like the basking shark, whale shark, megamouth shark, are planktivores. They eat just plankton, krill, and then you get most of the rest in between are pretty much
the
just
apex
carnivores.
predator, like either the
Yeah.
apex predators or very high up in the food chain
Yeah.
themselves. Something else that makes sharks unique is they have denticles, these dermal denticles.
Yeah.
So if you look at a normal fish, you notice scales. That's kind of like the glowing thing on the externals of a fish is the scales. Sharks don't have those. If you look at a shark from a picture, it kind of looks very smooth. But if you ever feel a shark, it's not very smooth. It's pretty sandpapery, kind of roughish. That's because of these
Sharks aren't smooth.
No. Smooth brain. I missed the meme. Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but they have these dermal denticles, which it's made of dentine. I think that's where they get the name from, correct?
I believe so. I think it sounds right.
We're looking.
I'm trying to find it.
Surrounded by dentine. Yep.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're like skin teeth. Is like it's like a very basic translation of denticle is skin teeth. Or tooth skin. And that's kind of what protects them. They don't have scales, they have these tentacles instead. And dentine's what teeth are made out of in some of these more predator species.
Yeah. And what these do is they kind of break up the shark's skin a little bit, and they're all facing like kind of like a hook, almost facing towards the tail. So what this does is makes the sharks much more hydrodynamic, because as they swim, it doesn't, because of this right near the skin, you don't get like little swirls of water as much because this breaks it up. So that allows them to use less energy and move faster.
Fluid dynamics, people.
Yes, sir.
Fluid dynamics are different than aerodynamics, because aerodynamics you want to be as smooth as possible.
Correct.
In fluid dynamics, you kind of want to have,
because you have a lot more friction.
Yeah, you want to have some type of abrasion to the fluid.
Yes.
Evolutionarily is the proper term, right? Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Sharks came into existence in the early Silurian with the acanthodians, or the spiny sharks. They don't exist anymore today. They kind of died out in one of the many extinctions. Sad. But if they kind of existed, if they existed today, they would be nowhere near where sharks are today. Like in terms of food chain, trophic levels, they're completely different. However, there are some species we're going to talk about today when I was doing my research who may or may not have survived some of these larger extinctions, like the Great Dying.
Okay.
Or what's it called? Is that the word I want? Is that the one I want to talk about? I don't remember, dude.
Like the was it the Permian extinction?
Yeah, the Permian extinction. Okay. Is that the Great Dying? I don't remember.
I believe so. I believe that was the big one before because the next one after that I think was the Cretaceous extinction.
Yeah.
So it should be the Permian extinction. Let me look.
Right. So they came out in the Silurian, and the oldest confirmed, like, modern, in quotation, species came out during the Devonian period.
Okay. Yes. So our 5 extinctions are the Ordovician, Silurian, the Devonian, the Permian Triassic. There was a small Triassic. There was a big one, the Triassic to Jurassic. So from the beginning to the middle age of the dinosaurs, it wasn't nothing like the Permian extinction, but it was still pretty good. And then the Cretaceous extinction, which is one of the more famous ones.
The Permian extinction is kind of like a reboot.
Yes, it was a massive reboot.
So is the Triassic extinction.
I mean, most of them.
Or the Cretaceous extinction was
also
another reboot.
Looking here, the Triassic Jurassic extinction was pretty intense also.
Let's talk about
So let's get back to sharks.
let's talk about today's sharks, shall we?
Yes.
We have 4 groups of sharks to talk about today. We're talking specifically about the squalomorphs today. So last week we talked about the galeomorphs. Those are the more derived species. They're kind of the more like the newer models.
Okay. I mean, that's a pretty easy way to put them.
So today we're talking more about the more primitive ones. So the main difference is they don't have that nictitating membrane. They also lack an anal fin in most species.
Okay.
And they lack suborbital shelves in the cranium. Don't quite know what that means.
I mean, I'm guessing
your
it
orbitals
has to
are
do.
your eyes.
Yes, I'm guessing it has to do with like a protrusion below the eye. Probably helps with a lot with eye movement, maybe, and maybe protecting part of the eye.
Right.
I'm not 100%.
That's the strong idea.
I'm not a shark biologist.
There is 163 species divided between 11 families in 4 orders. Obviously, we're not going to talk about each and every species, but we are going to break down the 4 orders today.
Fantastic.
So that first order is called Hexantiforms. Hex means 6.
Okay.
In case you didn't know.
Why are they called the 6 forms, Tyler?
They have 6 gill slits compared to the 5 in most of the other species we talked about last week. So
okay,
I guess I don't know why the 6 and the 7 slits would be more primitive. Maybe it's because the gills
less
are more
efficient. Yeah,
the gills are more efficient in the 5 gilled forms. They don't need as many slits.
That'd be my guess. They're probably larger. Like the folding of them is probably better, more efficient gills.
These hexantiforms would include species such as your frilled shark. Obviously, your 6 and 7 gilled shark species are also in this group. That's the 2 families that we're talking about. 6 gilled sharks and frilled sharks. 2 different groups. And there's 7 species in these 2 groups.
Okay. The 6 and 7 gill sharks are also known as cow sharks.
Yeah, and they all of these are like deep water species in this group.
Okay.
6 and 7 gill sharks really come up to the surface. They're really rare to come up to like the surface into that pelagic zone.
Okay.
They have been known to, though, in like kind of like shipwrecks type of things when there's a lot of commotion up the front. They'll kind of come up and explore it, but not. Besides that, not really. This is the supposed most basal group that we'll talk about.
Okay. I'm gonna pull up a frilled shark for the
gross.
viewers.
They
gross. Are freaky looking.
Not only are they freaky looking, they have weird teeth, and you can kind of see it in this image. But so, like when you think of a normal shark tooth, it's kind of like a big triangle, right? These are like 3 needles on one tooth. They're like think of
kind of see it there,
kind of like a Christmas tree branch.
Yeah, how it's almost like a crown of 3, instead of like one main tooth.
Yeah,
freaky looking. And here you can see the gill slits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep. They have 1 spineless dorsal fin. If Alex could please zoom out and we can look at it.
Hold on. Give me just a moment.
He's thinking about it.
If it wants to be nice to me, and zoom back out.
And the vertebral column, so what would be that spinal column where the vertebrae actually would be, that extends all the way into the dorsal lobe of the caudal fin. The caudal fin is your tail fin. And a lot of times in these species, there is next to nothing of a ventral lobe. So you have 2 lobes in your tail fin. You have a dorsal lobe and a ventral lobe. Your dorsal lobe is typically up top, and your ventral lobe is on the bottom. In these species, there is no bottom fin on your tail. It's a very large upper lobe. They have large mouths in comparison to the rest of the body. They have 2 eyes, obviously. As the predatory fish, they're on either side of the head, not facing front. And they have small sphericals behind the eyes. As we talked about, sphericals kind of help in respiration. And the reason the frilled sharks are kind of in this group, even though they're not really cow sharks, they're the closest thing to it. And they differ more from the other 3 groups we're going to talk about today than the 7 and 6 gill sharks.
Okay. Yeah, as you said, this is the most primitive group. There have been teeth, similar teeth to the modern frilled sharks and cow sharks found in like Australia and Antarctica that date back to the Devonian pyramid. So that means if they are the same like group of like order of sharks, they survived the Permian extinction. So they are 400 some million years old
Yep.
as a group.
Yeah, and something I'd like to bring up, it's kind of like more of like a weird side tangent, is as we've done these 20 so episodes, I've noticed that a lot of the oldest fossils that we have come from Australia and Antarctica, even dating back to like the Precambrian, like
A lot of that probably has to do with where they were located prior to their modern locations.
yeah,
They were much more tropical.
I kind of just thought it was because we as humans haven't really touched some of these areas because like some of the bigger like Australian dig sites are like in the outback by like
Okay.
what's the big rock? You know what I'm talking about.
Uh,
Awesome. Anyway, big
doing
rock,
great, guys.
big rock in the outback, and that's where around that area is where a lot of the earliest fossils are found in Australia, even dating back to Precambrian and kind of like that first attempt at life that kind of like didn't work too well. Let's move on because that
Yes,
kind of
sir.
closes off our hexantroforms. Alex, what's next?
Next is our squaliforms. So this is another one of the pretty ancient orders of sharks. It's a pretty big order. 120 species in 22 genera under 6 families. So it's our biggest group of these next 4 of these 4 orders, I should say. These have 2 dorsal fins, typically with spines. They do lack the anal fin and the nictitating membrane on the eyes, so they still have that older style of body plan, varying in shape and size. They found pretty much throughout the world. Some of the families actually do have some bioluminescence,
which is cool. I didn't know sharks had that.
Yeah, that is cool. And so, which evolved with squaliforms about 150 million years ago. So it's a pretty old evolutionary adaptation. They think it's kind of used as like a way to counter illuminate like bioluminescence, because these are also little deeper ocean fish or sharks as well. So it kind of helps us camouflage to confuse predators for the smaller species.
Yeah, because what I guess how that works is they'll kind of illuminate themselves from the bottom. So, like, if you're a benthic invertebrate, like a crab that's living on that sea floor, you'll see some light from whatever light can touch where you're at. So you'll use your bioluminescence to kind of counter illuminate and make the crab think that you're that light source before you eat them.
Okay.
That's how I read into it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So now to get into some of our groups here, I think these are actually our families, some of them. So the first one is pretty freaky. It is Centrophoridae, which are known as the gulper sharks. So these are deep water sharks, small to medium size, ranging 2.5 to 6 feet in length. Typically, your deeper ocean organisms tend to be smaller to help them deal with the pressure. Not always, but in most cases. The females are oviviparous, sorry.
Yeah, we had a fun time saying that word last week, and then they changed it on us.
So this means they actually keep their egg cases internally in their body until they hatch. So this is where, if you've ever heard the saying that like shark babies will eat their siblings before they're born, this is where that happens, and it does actually happen. There's video footage of it. Some scientists were able to put a camera inside a shark, and they did see that happen. The next group is the Delatidae. Yeah, sorry, the double I was messing me up. These are known as the kite fin sharks. Small, grown only about 6 feet max. and they also have that bioluminescence. Family after that was this a doozy? Chinorhinidae. I think I did better than that than the last one. The bramble sharks also found in those benthic regions. Additionally, oviviparous. Apologies for these being kind of short for these groups. Being deep ocean organisms, they're difficult to study. So
Not much to it.
We unfortunately don't have a ton of information for them.
Also, a lot of these only have 1 to 2 species.
Yeah.
10 top.
Okay.
Well, at least for these first couple. There's dogfish in this group, and there's a lot of dogfish.
Okay, yeah. They're the big group of this.
Yeah.
After that is the Etmopteridae. Goodness gracious.
Winner.
These are some crazy group names.
There's actually a lot of these.
Yeah, there's the lantern sharks. They are very small deep water sharks that actually have photophores along their body. So that's pretty cool, actually. If we can.
Let's throw a picture up here.
I want to see a little more about these. That really 45 species and 5 genera for these ones. So there's not a ton of them or a ton about them. Unfortunately, as we said, those deep sea oceans, there's really nothing. But those light-producing photophores are pretty cool. Following them is the Oxynotidae, or the rough sharks.
That was a winner right there. That was the best you've said one yet.
I know. Well, that was an easy one because those sounds worked in my mouth. Listen, I was up at like 4 o'clock this morning. That's my excuse, at least.
Valid.
They have 2 large dorsal fins with sharp spines, first placed right above their head. That's cool looking. They got a funky schnoz.
They got a funky schnoz. They got a really large dorsal fin.
Yeah.
Things gnarly looking.
They also they have like real rough, prickly skin, so even more than regular sharks.
Large dentricles.
Yes. And then they also possess bioluminescent organs as well. So they can also light up. Very cool. And then second to last is the sleeper sharks. They're pretty poorly studied because they're deep sea sharks found in cold waters. So closer to the poles, it's even harder to get to them than it is to get to even regular deep sea locations.
They're cool though.
They are kind of cool.
They actually make antifreeze.
Yes, they contain within their blood. It's like a toxic antifreeze that helps them survive in that cold water. Functions the way antifreeze does in a car. It keeps it from
freezing.
Yeah, it keeps the blood from freezing so that they can't live anymore. So actually, are these one of the ones where their blood is actually clear?
No.
I know there are fish, like some Arctic fish. Yes, that their blood is clear because they don't use I think they use hemoglobin, but the way they do it, it's crazy.
No, I'm pretty sure they're still. I don't know.
While you're looking for that, I'm going to get into our last group of the squaliforms, which is the Squalidae, or the dogfish sharks. They have 2 dorsal fins, each with smooth spines, but they again have no anal fin as most of the rest of this group. Their skin's rough to the touch like regular sharks. They are characterized by having teeth on both the upper and lower jaw with similar size. I think a lot of sharks, their lower teeth tend to be larger.
Yeah. Or not by much, though.
Okay.
Like a few centimeters.
Okay.
And when you get those larger species, it's negligible.
Yeah. They have what is called a caudal peduncle with lateral keels. What is that?
Well, let's figure it out here.
I mean, let's see here. Caudal, that mean it'd be like the caudal fin. Yeah. And then I'm guessing lateral keels means they have like extensions along the sides that kind of help them stay balanced, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. So they have an upper precaudal pit. So there must be there's an indentation before the caudal fin along the back. And then the caudal fin, they have a caudal fin without a subterminal notch. So it'd be just straight up and down pretty much.
So I did not find anything on sleeper shark blood color.
Okay.
But I did find the compound that is used in this antifreeze that makes it so toxic.
Okay. What is that?
trimethylamine off.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll react with a lot of things very, very aggressively.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Dogfish are venomous.
Dogfish are venomous?
Yeah. They're mildly to humans. They
Okay.
kind of,
But they're venomous. Their dorsal spines have venom.
yeah, kind of like a, I don't know if I want to
Okay.
talk about it yet. Like a stonefish
Okay.
or like a lionfish.
Okay. Yeah. So they are very unique in that sense.
And they got squalamine in their
Yeah.
stomachs and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's in their stomach and liver, which possesses the property of reduction of small blood vessel growth in humans. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
guessing that's
gross-looking
that's the
compound.
part that is toxic, I'm guessing. So what that would mean is like in like your like near your skin and your fingers and toes, like those real little blood vessels that are like super, super tiny, they get reduced, which means that they don't get the chance to. That is a crazy looking compound.
Yeah, I didn't really want to share it with the group here because I don't know how much they're gonna say. I mean, like, yeah, we'll show.
Yeah, show the class, and then also pull up a picture of dogfish once you do that. I'll
Yeah.
pull up a picture of dogfish.
This is your squalamine compound, everybody. It's nasty. This is
Yeah.
okay. So it's a steroid, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Because it has the 3 rings of hexane. It's got 3 carbon rings and the pentane.
Yeah, I believe that is a steroid.
And then it's got this gross ass amine here.
Yeah,
my
and then
French.
as well as the big sulfur group. I forget the technical name for that.
Yeah, that one.
Our OChem professor would be mad at me, but
He's okay.
that's
He's
a
not
very
watching.
reactive. Yeah, you never know.
I think I know. With the difficulties I put him through, I think I know he's not watching us.
Okay, and then here, once you're done with that, I will throw up the
throw some dogfish at the screen.
the dogfish.
The dogfish. Look at him
Dogfish.
go.
There he is. You can see those spines. That did not zoom in very much.
Good job.
There we go. You can see those spines, especially on this
Especially
fin
on that
here.
second dorsal.
Yes, sir.
But that's gonna cover our squaliforms.
That will cover the squaliforms. Most of what we know is the dogfish sharks, just because they are not super deep sea.
Yeah, they're benthic,
Sharks?
but more like I don't know where. I don't know my ocean zones. Like a middle ground. They're still long to live the seafloor, just not like in an abyssal zone type, like Greenland sharks and everything else does. We got 2 groups left to cover though.
Yes, sir.
What do you want to do next? We got
we'll do the shorter one first, and
that's
then
helpful. Yep, that
we'll
is
do
helpful.
Squatiniform.
Squatiniforms, also known as angel sharks. Angel sharks are cool. They're kind of confused for like sharks, not sharks, for skates and rays because they're more flattened.
Yeah, they seem like they're kind of that go between almost.
Yeah, but their mouth is at their front, whereas like we'll talk about it more next week. But skates and rays have their mouth on their bottom side.
Yeah,
and they'll suck up their invertebrate prey as they go along the seafloor. But these are ambush predators as well, so they'll kind of like jimmy their way into the sand.
Okay.
And then whenever a fish or something that fits in their mouth comes by, they'll jump out and grab it and then kind of shimmy back into the dirt.
Okay.
They don't migrate. A lot of sharks are very migratory species.
Especially the larger sharks.
Yeah. There's plenty of diagrams of great whites and bull sharks doing laps around like the Atlantic coast.
Yeah. Typically with the seasons, as the water gets warmer further north, they move north, I believe.
Yeah. My
Don't quote me on that because I could be very wrong.
My mental measures of size are apparently very wrong because angel sharks are very small at 7 feet long, which I guess in the realm of sharks is kind of small because if like your metric is like a great white, that's like what, 18? Large, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of go in the summer, they go a little further north, and then as it gets into winter, they go further south.
Winter.
Roughly. At least great whites along the American.
Yeah. So as I was kind of alluded to earlier, these angel sharks are like that halfway species where it's like that front part is super flattened compared to other sharks, but as you get more towards that caudal area, it turns back into that muscular torpedo-shaped tail area. They have no anal fin, 2 dorsal fins, and unusually for sharks, that lower lobe is longer than the upper lobe.
Okay. That is unusual for sharks.
Yeah, because they're either equally sized or that upper lobe is
Larger.
And in some species, it's much, much larger.
Yeah. Such as the thresher sharks that we
Yep.
talked about last week. But a big thing about these is most species are critically endangered in the angel sharks. So,
Now, a lot of that has to do with because since they're ambush predators, there's no need to migrate, so they just don't. And then whenever that population decline happens in one area,
they follow it.
it just destroys them.
You hate to see it.
How many species are there, Alex? Did you find this information? 26.
Hey, there's 26.
26. There's a lot. There's quite a bit, yeah. Mostly in like South America and like Indonesia and Southeast Asia.
Okay. A lot of the fossils are more North America and Europe. It looks like.
Funny how that works.
That is interesting. That's strange how that works.
Let's wrap it up. We got one more
We
group.
got one left. One left. Let's go. Finish strong. We're getting there.
What are we talking about here? Oh, they're cool. I had to look back at the notes for a second. We're talking about the Pristiophoriforms.
Bless you.
Yup. Pristiophoriforms. Also known as
A saw shark.
the saw sharks. So, in case you didn't know what they look like, they have chainsaw blades attached to their face.
Pretty much. I mean, it's the easiest way to
Yeah. So,
describe it.
mention shark mixed with a chainsaw. That's
that.
the winner.
Right there.
Right there.
Got some big old toothers.
And how they work, I don't know how this works though, because if their teeth are on the outside, they're just kind of like,
Yes. But then
Cut it
they
up.
have like the main part of their mouth that they actually.
Does it have
So-
teeth too?
It should, because that's what it said. That part is actually it's an extension of the rostrum, like the nose.
Yeah, so they
It's
got
not the
nose
mouth.
teeth.
So it's more like a tusk, but like a really funky tusk. Is the best way to describe it.
They got nose teeth.
Nose teeth.
Nose teeth. 10 species of saw shark in 2 genera.
Genera.
Genera. I
Struggling. We're both struggling tonight.
listen, they sound exactly the same.
Close enough.
Tylotrema and Pristiophorus sound exactly the same.
That is pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between the two groups either. They have 5 gill slits versus 6 gill slits.
Right in the middle of the notes. Right.
Yep.
Right there.
Yep. I can read. All are listed on the IUCN as least concern or data deficient.
Okay. Found. Go ahead.
We don't know much about Jack besides like feeding patterns.
Okay. They're not well studied.
They're kind of rare.
Okay.
As much as they're least concerned, they're kind of rare, just because as a whole, there's not a lot of them.
But yeah, 10 species is not a lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're about 5 feet long,
okay.
so smaller than angel sharks.
okay.
And I thought 7 feet was large, but apparently it's not.
Now, for sharks, that's small to medium.
Yeah, we're saying these sharks are like Tyler sized.
Yeah. Pretty much. God bless you. Good catch. Saving
Yeah.
everybody's ears.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I mean that is a Tyler-sized shark, for lack
Can
of.
we measure everything on the show in Tyler's and Alex's from now on, please?
I mean, it's a difference of like half a foot.
Yeah, but it just makes the podcast so much more American.
Feet and meters. What are those? Let's talk.
We're
How
talking
many
Tyler's
shark? How many Tylers and Alexes is this shark long?
Exactly. But that's going to wrap it up for our lesson for today. As always, we move on into our recurring themes. We'll kick it off with Alex's most wanted because it kind of
Alrighty.
throws a loop in today.
it does throw a loop, because really the only shark that is invasive I covered last week. So this week we're gonna do something similar realm. It's a fish, but it's a bony fish. It is the blue catfish. So, like most other catfish, they've got the long whiskers. The biggest thing where these are invasive is in the Chesapeake Bay, which is along the Atlantic coast of the United States. It is fed by a number of different rivers, one of them being the James River. And the big thing that the problem with the catfish is they eat everything. And I mean everything. They were introduced to the bay a number of decades ago from the rivers. And so a lot of folks thought, oh, they would just stay in the rivers themselves because as you get into the bay, it becomes saltier. Well, the catfish was able to tolerate that salinity higher than they anticipated. So they have migrated kind of in and out of the bay, and they are just eating a ton of stuff, specifically crabs and smaller fish. Because especially as they get out in the bay, there's a lot more food. They are actually apex predators. Most people don't think of catfish as apex predators, but they are. They outcompete other larger fish for food.
Would you like
so
to
that's
show?
why
Would you like to let me show the picture of this blue catfish?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Please show the world this
Show the world
funky
this-
little dude. Right there.
There he is. The blue cat.
It is.
Tasty.
Yeah. So while they are kind of a troublesome fish because they are just eating so much, some people actually think that they may be good for the ecosystem because they kind of clean. There are more bottom feeders, so they kind of help clean it up a little bit. Sorry, let me retract that statement because as I was going through the article here from NOAA, the National Organization.
It does kind of say here in big letters, adult blue catfish are not bottom feeders.
Yeah, I know. I scrolled down. I'm like, oh, hey, never mind. So it's a little different than other catfish. Where does it say why they might be good for the ecosystem? I should have read this better. It doesn't really say. I think that was just some resource managers.
I think it's more because it adds a new...
eating them is better for the ecosystem because you are removing some of the invasive catfish. Sorry, I misread.
I also feel like it's better because like it's a new trophy target in the area, so you're being rewarded, quote unquote, for catching them versus catching a native species.
Yeah, and fortunately, unlike some other invasive species where like they have a lot of adaptations that make them not really like edible.
Like
Catfish?
a snakehead?
Yes, like a snakehead. Catfish are very edible and very delicious. They're very good for you as well. So,
especially blue catfish.
Yeah, blue catfish is really good. Since they aren't bottom feeders, they don't accumulate quite as much toxins in their body. However, they still do, as a lot of fish do. So there are size recommendations if you are catching one. That's all information you can look up if you wish to do so.
Anything else to add, Alex?
No. So all I got to say for that is if you're in Chesapeake Bay, go catch yourself some catfish because it's good for dinner and you'll helps kind of improve the bay a little bit.
Awesome. Good to hear. Well, I will move us on into our amazing species for the day. Today we're going to be talking.
I'm excited when I saw this. I was pumped.
I didn't put any information on this screen. I just put Greenland shark. Yippee. So today we're talking about the Greenland shark as our amazing species.
Yes.
I love the Greenland shark. They're super cool.
Look at them.
Somniosus microcephalus, which is kind of a weird name. Because microcephalus leads me to believe that means small head.
I mean, it is kind of smaller.
I guess, in comparison to like other sharks, it does kind of more torpedo shape than...
Yeah. Let me pull up a little bit about the Greenland shark.
The Greenland shark, native to Greenland and the surrounding areas, so really along... They go the whole way down to the coast of like Florida.
Do they really?
That's what the IUCN's telling me today.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like,
so pretty much the northern hemisphere of the Atlantic Ocean along the coasts.
yeah, from like the coast of Florida all the way up to like past Newfoundland, around
Like
Greenland,
northern Greenland into the Arctic Circle.
and then to Scandinavia, and even like across the pond to Scandinavia, all the way like that northern tip of Spain. That's
And
crazy. That's insane.
around actually even around the Russian peninsula as well.
Wow, that's
Is that no, sorry, that is not what is that?
the UK.
No, it's further up than that.
Svalbard. That's part of Greenland.
Is it, the island that's to the right of that? I don't know. I think it may
Yep.
just be part of the Arctic Circle. I apologize. This map's kind of hard to see.
But they live deep, 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 deep down, deeper than 2,500 meters. Which is, I feel like 2,500 is kind of like that, like dark zone.
I'm almost certain it is.
Yeah, they're actually kind of a big food source in like Greenland and the surrounding areas. So
Okay.
I know we talked about it. Greenland sharks are sleeper sharks, and the sharks that have the antifreeze. So what they do is they kind of let it ferment outside.
But yes,
And
I've heard it's an experience.
that's what I've heard too. So they're kind of overfished. Right now they're listed as vulnerable. I'm sure that's going to change within the next couple of
Yes.
years. That's the only IUCN. No, wait, I lied to you. There's one in 2006 where they're near threatened. So from 2006 to 2020, it went from near threatened to vulnerable, which isn't a big drop actually.
But tell them why it's going to become more of a problem. Or do you want me to tell 'em?
Yeah, that's a big paragraph for me to read.
Okay, so why this is such a problem? Greenland sharks can live, they estimate they can live up to 500 years. The oldest recorded Greenland shark is about 300 and some, but that's like about 390, 400, but that's like a plus or minus. It's a pretty wide range of accuracy. It's plus or minus 120 years. I think a lot of that is just because the shark was still alive. They were using radiocarbon dating of crystals within the lenses of their eyes to determine approximate ages. Okay, so they said the oldest, which was also the largest, about 400 years, give or take 120. So still, at the very least, well over 250 years old.
Yeah, and your conservative estimate for like an average lifespan is like 150 as like a conservative number.
Well, that's like where they reach sexual maturity is about 150 years old.
And when IUCN does their like status updates, they go based off of generation and population decline through generation. So things that decline a lot, and there's two categories that get affected a lot by this type of surveying. The ones where they lose a couple every generation, where it's like, well, we might lose 20 to 30 each generation, but our generations last like a year until we're sexually mature. And the ones where it's like, well, we lose like 200 and our generations are every 100 years. Things like that.
Yeah, which is a lot of, and then the last thing is, of course, as said, with the sleeper sharks, pups are born alive after an estimated gestation period of 8 to 18 years.
That's gross.
So, very long time. But because they live so long, they have about 10 pups at a time. So it's not like that's one shark for 18 years. About 10 pups at a time. And so since they live so long, Greenland sharks can have roughly 200 to 700 pups in their life.
That's a lot, though.
That is a lot.
And part of that long lifestyle, that long lifespan, it's just their lifestyle. They're really slow moving. They don't do much.
No, and they eat pretty much anything. In a lot of cases, that includes like ocean fall, like that just like dead
Yeah, whale fall,
animals.
sea snow.
The one thing on here says they've been found with moose, polar bear, horse, and in one case, an entire reindeer. The whole reindeer in his stomach.
That's
wild.
Funny. That's kind of funny. My question is, how does a reindeer get into the ocean?
I'm going to guess that the ice melted.
It's a valid answer. I like it. That's all I have for the Greenland shark. I don't know if you had any more interesting facts.
And I just wanted folks to understand that why these are so cool is because they're the longest living vertebrate.
These things
Animal
have
with a
seen the
backbone.
Civil War.
That shark,
Theoretically.
the shark that they referenced, is older than the United States. It is
Exactly.
about 270 years old, at least. It could be twice that age. It could be almost 520 years old.
Yeah, that's
Ridiculous.
I know our amazing species is for me and Alex to cover like an endangered species and why we should be saving it. But these are just amazing in their own regard based off of lifespan, lifestyle. They're so cool.
It's crazy. Like, they are just super cool.
And now it's time for my double whammy,
Yes,
where I
sir.
talk to you guys about our From the Vault. And as I said, sharks kind of have been around forever, right?
We did say that. They've
From-
been around
what
for
I said
a
that-
hot minute.
I said what, the Devonian period?
Yes, that is a long time ago.
So it goes Cambrian, Devonians. This is the second geologic time period
It's
with life.
Yeah, Cambrian, then a couple, and then Devonian.
Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian. Okay.
Yeah.
My
So
bad.
get us into what this cool thing is, 'cause
So
this is
today
also kind of cool looking.
Today we're talking about Orthocanthus. These are a freshwater cartilaginous fish, but they kind of fit into elasmobranchs and the shark family, even though they're freshwater fish, because of their anatomy and etymology. Alex has pulled up a jaw fossil. They kind of I don't even know what to call it, what modern fish this would look. They kind of have the teeth of a frilled shark. As you see, they have those black things are their teeth, and that's kind of what a modern day frilled shark looks like. They're gross.
That is very disturbing.
Yeah. Freshwater lived in the swamps, marshes, and rivers. They had a diet where the adults would prey on the juvenile Orthocantha.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mostly, I said, that
could just be growing up and your uncle's trying to take a bite out of you.
well, when you put it that way.
A literal bite out of you.
Yeah, there you go.
We're just gonna let's just keep going. Just let it go.
Yep.
Just ignore
John,
that.
John, go away. Freshwater swamps and bayous. So swamps in Europe and North America. About 3 meters in length, so 10 feet. Small in terms of sharks.
For a freshwater shark, though, that's pretty big.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in that time period, that's about average. But for freshwater, that's pretty good.
They had their teeth had a minimum of 3 cusps. So I guess the cusps are the points, right?
Probably like that sort of deal.
Yeah. So we're having at least 3 of them. So 3 prongs on each tooth, which really means you have triple the teeth that you're supposed to have.
Oh, it's just one very grabby tooth.
Right? Yeah, you're right.
I'm just full of fun today.
So in the adult, those teeth are believed to be sexual dimorphism traits, where the larger teeth could have been the females, where the males could have the smaller teeth.
Okay.
But since these are prehistoric creatures, I don't really have much to explain to you because there's no way for us to hop in a boat and go look at them.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
Really,
If only we could.
Yeah, if only we could.
Be cool.
Yeah, if only we could. But they do fit into that Elasmobranchi family in the which are all extinct, died out.
Okay.
Yeah, died out in the Triassic period. So probably about the same time all the other dinosaurs died, these things kind of ran out too.
Okay.
And they believe to be Euryhaline, actually. So this one might have been strictly freshwater, but later species themselves might have been like a euryhaline. Half and half is what that means for
Okay.
those who fresh and salt.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's all I have for today. Alex, do you have anything else to add?
I do not know. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna get that horrifying jaw fossil off the screen.
Works for me. Works for me. So as always, listeners, ladies, gentlemen, children, people of all ages, that is the end of today's episode. Today we finished our shark discussion. We'll move on into some more chondrichthyes.
Okay. This should
Next
be
week.
the skates and rays is what we would start next week, correct?
Okay.
Okay. I'm excited.
I am too. They're cool. We
They are
got
very
2 more
cool.
weeks of talking about chondrichthyes. So we're going to talk about skates and rays, and then we're going to talk about chimeras and the other holocephalans.
Okay. And then that will take us into the regular fish.
The lobefin fish, not the
But-
regular fish.
Aren't they bony fish?
They're bony fish, but
Okay,
they're not.
so
They're
It'll
different.
take us into the bony fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all that means is they have skeletons.
Yes. Actual skeletons.
Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up today's episode. As always, follow us on Instagram at Life Complete Story. Lots of cool stuff coming up on there.
Yes, John has been putting up some awesome posts lately. So, and a lot of you guys have been liking. So we really appreciate it.
John's captions are amazing.
They're fantastic. John is my hero.
John is my hero. His captions are amazing. You fans are amazing.
Yeah.
Like us on Facebook. Follow the page on Facebook at Life the Complete Story. I, on the other hand, have been slacking on those posts because I want to give you guys the best articles possible, right? And when I can't find an article that I like, there's no way you guys are gonna like it. I also don't peruse Science Daily or Nature nearly as much as I should.
Honestly, me too. You really should just make that part of my daily reading.
Yeah.
Great, actually.
What else am I missing here? Oh, obviously follow us on Spotify. That's where most of you are probably listening to us
Hopefully, yeah.
at Life the Complete Story.
Leave us a review.
Leave us a
Follow,
review.
like, hit the notifications so you know when a new episode
Yep.
comes out. Same
Subscribe-
with YouTube.
Subscribe to us on YouTube at Life the Complete Story. Follow us on TikTok. That's newish. 2-3 weeks old at this point. At Life Complete Story, I believe is what John made the page.
Okay.
Posts are going out on there as well. Email us at lifecompletestory@gmail.com. If you have suggestions, comments, gripes with the two of us, send it there. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
In a rather rapid.
Eventually.
Alex, we check this email at least once a day, I feel like.
Yeah.
I do at least because it's on my phone. And it makes me sad whenever the only email I see is, "Hey Google, someone logged into your account." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's John."
That is sad.
But I mean, hey guys, that's all the time we have for the day.
Thank you all very much for joining us as we continue making our way through the tree of life, and as we end every podcast, learn something new, keep on learning. You never know when you might find something you love.
And we'll catch you guys next week when we talk about skates and rays.
Yes, sir. And see you,
Goodbye.
everyone.